For those of you joining us today, thank you for watching the Woburn Spotlight. I'm your host, Tyler Gates, here to bring you some positivity by talking to those in town, making big strides for the greater good. Today, I'm fortunate to have with me Billy the coach. Billy, welcome to you.
How are you, Tyler?
I'm really good. How about you?
Good, thank you. Great to be here.
Oh, it's great to have you. I know this is going to be a fun one. I don't think I've ever seen you not smile, first of all. But I don't want to butcher your title because what you do is very unique. So please just start off by telling us a little bit about you and what you're here to chat about today.
Yeah, sure. Thank you again for having me here,
pleasure.
Tyler. Really nice to be here. So my name is Billy Sheehan. I do business as Billy the Coach. I'm an executive health strategist. Primarily, I work with executives, business owners, C-level executives in companies, helping them to maintain or create and maintain a balance between their personal lives and their professional careers. The easiest way to describe it is I try to help executives avoid becoming the richest guy in the graveyard or the richest guy in rehab.
That's fair. Okay.
So, yeah, I've been doing it for, in one form or another for about I think next year is my 30th year. So I've met some fabulous people, learned a lot, shared a lot, and just feel like I'm just getting warmed up, tell you the truth.
Just getting warmed up.
Yeah,
I love that.
Definitely. I'm a big believer. 80's the new 40.
Yeah?
So I think there's very, very exciting times with lots of new opportunities out there for people.
And one of the things you told me, you have a very niche title. Do you mind just elaborating on the story you shared with me about you going to talks and saying you pulled out a check or a $20 bill? Please enlighten me. That was quite comical.
Yes. So I back probably 10 years ago, it was actually a client of mine that came up with the name Billy the Coach. So I'm in trying to position myself out there as a company, executive health strategist seemed to be the best description of what I do. So I do a lot of speaking, and a lot of times when a speaker comes out onto the stage, they might say, would you mind turning off your cell phones? Well, I did just the opposite. I said, I want you to take out your cell phone, and I want you to Google up executive health strategist. And for a long time, I carried around a check with me for $100.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah, and it wasn't made out. The pay to the order was blank. And I would say, if you can give me the name of another executive health strategist, I'll write your name on the check and give it to you.
Never happened, did it?
It never happened, to the point where the check came in and out of my wallet so many times that it basically just kind of disintegrated.
That's too funny.
But I'm pretty sure to this day, at least every time I've done it, I still think I have the only, I come up the only executive health strategist online.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I know you do really niche work for executives, C-level management, like you said, making sure they're not the richest one in the graveyard or the rehab. But you've also kind of come up with and crafted, or in the early phases of creating a product, something similar to what you call the 401k lifestyle. Tell me a little bit more about that. I don't want to butcher the name.
Yeah, it's called Lifestyle 401k, investing in the greatest wealth of all. And it's, being here with you in the investment world, I think you can relate to that. Basically, in the United States, we've been conditioned over generations to invest financially in our future, or invest in our retirement. That's a common thing I think that people easily can relate to. But the fact of the matter is, especially today, a lot of people are very unprepared for retirement in terms of their health. Chronic diseases like obesity, diabetes, heart disease, hypertension, even depression have really put a negative influence on the potential quality of life people will have. So Lifestyle 401k is a concept designed to parallel the idea of investing financially in your retirement. You want to invest physically and mentally as well, so that you can do those things that you wanted to do and have worked hard over the course of your life saving money for.
So incredibly unique program, and that's kind of where we met and where this kind of came to light. So how are you still in the very early stages of kind of developing this idea? So maybe we haven't come to the certain point where you're there yet, but do you see kind of what that will take? Is it systematic investments in themselves, time, commitment? What does the program itself look like?
Yeah, it's still in the formative stages. We're very much committed to the idea. The concept has been very well received. We've talked to a lot of people about it. I think, Tyler, that one of the sort of models that we're looking at to support Lifestyle 401k is this idea of creating, believe it or not, for the first time, an organization, let's say a membership organization like AAA or AARP,
Okay.
an organization which represents the physically fit population in the United States. It's really interesting. I know we were talking out in the hallway. I don't know if I asked you this, but if you look at it this way, if I said to you, what brand comes to mind when you think of home improvement?
Lowe's or Home Depot?
Lowe's or Home Depot.
Yeah.
Everybody says that.
Yeah,
right?
same thing.
Right? Everybody says the next answer that you're going to say too.
Yeah.
If I say what brand comes to mind when you think online shopping?
At this point, Amazon.
Amazon.
Yeah.
Okay. The third question is really interesting. What brand comes to mind when I say America's healthy population?
Takes a little bit longer. to
It's
think
just
of.
crickets.
Yeah.
It's crickets.
Yeah.
That's so interesting when you think about the implications of that. So that's one of the things that's really my preferred concept for Lifestyle 401k. And we're also looking at integrating a way to do something even above and beyond that. We have put together a concept called My Turn to Serve.
Okay.
And this would be either a part of Lifestyle 401k or maybe a separate program. But My Turn to Serve is all about the concept of individuals making a commitment to protecting the very same health and well-being that we put our soldiers into harm's way for. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think it's something that people an idea they could get behind. I think it could be an additional level of motivation for people to stay committed and to stay consistent to preserving their own health. And so if people paid a membership fee, for instance, to Lifestyle 401k, we would use some of those monies to support veterans' health, job creation, job training, or anything, any programs out there that we would find some way of identifying them. So
Again, early stages.
yes, well, I think that's one of the downsides. We all have our strengths and weaknesses. I love being Billy the coach. I love helping people. I've seen the programming we've put together has just made a fundamental difference in the way people navigate their decision making. And that part I really, really love. It comes very natural to me. The business side, probably one of my weaknesses. I think this is a great idea. Oh, I think this is a great idea, and it can get a little spread out, a little thin. So
Interesting.
but it's great. It's great working with people and seeing people, Tyler, come into the full realization of what they're capable of doing. The truth of the matter is a sufficiently motivated person can break any habit. They can create any kind of a trajectory they want regarding their physical health, their mental well-being, their personal relationships, or their professional careers. Truth of the matter is that is an attainable, reachable methodology for anyone willing to sit down and learn it, just like playing the piano.
I was just going to say, just like anything else, it takes practice.
It takes practice, takes effort. Sometimes I wish that there was maybe we'll do it someday, we'll just have a commercial on TV that just comes out and says, look, creating the highest level of the mental and physical condition at which you can live is hard work. We need to just face that. We need to get over it. I'm a parent. Do you have? I think you said.
No kids.
Right? Do you want to have kids someday?
Someday.
Right, someday. Okay. It's hard work.
Yes.
It's hard work, and that's good, and that's a positive thing to realize and to absorb. And I think we still fail to do that today. As we say in Lifestyle 401k, an investment in your good health is an investment in the greatest wealth of all. And we still, if you pick up any magazine, whether it's Shape or Men's Fitness, almost without fail, you're going to find the words easy, quick, secret, right? I can assure you there's nothing easy about physical fitness. There's nothing quick or easy about good nutrition. And there's frankly no secrets either. Most people know what they should do. It's really about developing those behavioral skills which allow you to do the things you know over a consistent, in a consistent way.
And how would you encourage somebody watching today, even on a very minute or small scale, to start practicing and developing those behavioral conditioning skills that get them out of a bad habit into the right habits or into the right mind frame?
Yeah.
I think mind frame is more of a better appropriate word than
Yeah,
than the habit
it's
itself.
absolutely true. I think that what would be the first thing that I would say would be to, it's like the good witch said to Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, start at the beginning. Take an honest assessment of where you are right now. Whether your challenge is fitness, whether it's smoking, whether it's drinking too much, if just focusing on things that affect your physical health. Take an honest assessment of where you are right now, because only when you realize where you are right now can you really draw that definitive line to where you want to be next. And once you have those two endpoints, the only thing you need to manage is what you do next. People have said to me, oh, I need to lose 100 pounds. That may be true. What they need to lose is 1. And because until they get the 1 clicked off, the other 99 aren't going to come. So it's about really having a goal and having a plan. Right? Having a plan. A plan without a goal is just a wish in disguise. You've got to be willing to be honest, be clear, and be consistent with your commitment level.
Okay, honest, clear.
Yeah.
Interesting approach. And I know as kind of technology evolves and shapes us in a sense as well, one of the things we talked about prior and I had in my notes was how do we reinvent ourselves? How do we essentially create that discipline in a high-paced environment that we're in? And maybe you just touched upon it a little bit there, just by taking the small steps, the baby steps, getting on that straight line, that straight and narrow. But could you elaborate on that? We are in a very high-paced, changing world.
Oh, there's no question about it. We were talking earlier, Tyler, about stress. I read somewhere that a person living in the year 2018, this might have been a couple of years ago, a person living in modern times experiences more information in one day or in one edition of the daily New York Times or the Boston Globe, New York Times, New York Post than a person would encounter in their entire life just 500 years ago. So we have this extraordinary amount of information, distraction, which is battling for our attention. And unless there are very good time management skills in place, unless we have good stress management skills in place, you are going to be at the mercy of how you think. But if you have good time management skills, if you have good stress management skills, and you do the work to develop and refine those over the course of time, then you become in command of the way you think. And a person who is in command of the way they think will frankly achieve the greatest accomplishment in the human condition, which is peace of mind. It's the closest you're going to get to God. It's the closest you're going to get to heaven in this life. is to have peace of mind. Think about that, to be able to create that, to become skilled and proficient at being the master of right here. This is my life right now, not my wife of 40 years, not my 2 beautiful children, not my 3 beautiful grandchildren. All I need to figure out is how to be good sitting here with Tyler on Woburn cable TV, and that's it. There is an amazing clarity to that. It's a very, very special thing. And in 30 years, in over 50,000 hours of working with human beings from every condition possible, I've never met one that could not learn it, could not assimilate that skill. And that's what I think is very, very different about 2018, where we are coming into the first part of the 20th century. Neuroscience, neurobiology has given us an opportunity to understand the way a human being functions cognitively. And how we function cognitively determines how we navigate this world physically. The fact of the matter is, you can put a Big Mac on this table and it's going to sit there for 1,000,000 years. It's not going to come get me. If I've got a weight problem and I'm gobbling gallons of ice cream or dozens of Big Macs, it's not because I have a food problem. It's because I have a stress management problem. And if you learn to manage what's going on in here, everything out here becomes extraordinarily manageable.
And one of the things you said, and we talked earlier, is very thought-provoking, is you're in command of the current moment. There's habits that you said in a way which was something I was kind of almost taken aback by, but when I thought through it, you're right, habits aren't really, in a sense, real. If you think about that current moment, like, right, that bottle of alcohol doesn't follow you around, the Big Mac doesn't drive itself to your house. But you're right.
You've never been chased out of a bar by a.
But it's tough once you're in a routine or a mind frame.
Correct.
To realize that you're in command of that given moment and not just.
Yeah. So back to your question, Tyler.
Yeah,
right? What would you say to someone watching? Where do I begin? Remember, I said take an honest, quiet assessment of where you are. Think about the way you think. Albert Schweitzer was a Pulitzer Prize-winning author. He was a psychologist, author. And someone asked him, what's the #1 problem facing people today? And Schweitzer said, we haven't learned how to think. We know now that this concept of consciousness is something that is approachable. We can locate it, we can find it. We know now that a person, and you don't have to be any guru or PhD to do this, a person can turn their attention in upon itself. When a person learns to turn their mind, their thinking process in upon itself, which is just called self-awareness, we now begin the process of becoming the master of the very thing that sets our limitations. Now think about that for a minute. Okay, think about that for a second. Am I saying that a person can learn, just like you can learn to play a violin, to turn your attention in upon your own thought process and begin the process of mastering the very instrument which sets your limitations? To answer my own question, that's exactly what I'm saying, yes.
Okay, interesting approach.
I think it's very interesting. I think it's super interesting, Tyler.
One of the thoughts that you left me with, and it really resonated well, and I think that's why I like you so much, is one of the things you measure yourself.
We having a bromance?
No, I guess so, okay. But one of the things that really resonates is how you measure your own ability to influence others. And one of the things you left with me was that if you can get one smart person to think differently or take a thought and spin it a different way, whether it just is thought-provoking or it leads to action, that's really how you kind of measure your own success in your career, which I think is awesome. It's just you're out there helping others, executives.
It's a great thing, and again, being here today, Tyler, I love I love working with these movers and shakers, and I've had the opportunity to learn a lot. But I can tell you there is equal value, if not higher value, to me, being here right now. If somebody watching this show is provoked to think in a different way, or moved or motivated to, germinate that process of becoming something different than what they were. Einstein said, in order to become what we can be, we have to be willing to let go of what we are. We know now that every moment is an opportunity to evolve and transform. You are not what you were. And this is one of the greatest illusions that, frankly, I broke free of. And I see people being affected by. People believe that they are what they were. That's just not true. You are what you choose. There's nothing stopping either one of us from getting out of these chairs. We could fly down to Key West, and we could make a living for the rest of our lives selling necklaces on the beach. True or false?
True.
True.
I thought about it once.
I think about it. I think about it all the time, right? I'll never forget, I was down in Key West one time. My wife and I were riding our bikes, and there was this one magnificent boat. It's thing's 150 feet long. I mean, it's got a big boat on the boat.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
got the helicopter on there. And I remember, again, to think about it, when you start to go beyond the thinking that's impulsive, that's default. You just see something and you just think that that's the way it is. So here's this magnificent boat, and my wife and I, Debbie, we're on the bikes, and there was a guy, every day we drove the bikes by there. This guy looked like a homeless guy. It looked like he hadn't been indoors or taken a bath or a shower since 1980, I would say. Always reading. He was quiet, had his book. These were books. I mean, he was reading books. Mm-hmm. And I said to Deb, isn't it funny, right? It's such a juxtaposition to see this man sitting there with that boat in the background. And I'll never forget, Debbie said, "How do you know he doesn't own the boat?" Right? And I said, that is so good. That is so good. I don't know whether he did or he didn't, but you can just see how we fall so easily into the illusion that what we're thinking is somehow the only thing that you can think. And so if you've had struggles in your life, which we all do, and if you have labeled yourself as someone who can't be physically fit, if you have labeled yourself as someone who can't stop drinking, if you've labeled yourself as someone who must have cigarettes in their life, that can be a very hard delusion to break free of. However, it is delusional nonetheless. There's nothing real about it except the thoughts in your own head that make it true in your own thinking. It's not true anywhere else. Mm-hmm. That's why, like I said, we could get up and you can go do anything you wanted to. And that's a tremendous amount of freedom and power that lies, for the most part, dormant within the average person. I can never be financially successful. I can never be financially stable, because that's not who I am. That's not how I was raised. That's not in my blood. I'm not smart enough. I'm not tall enough. I'm not educated enough. I'm not lucky enough. This is just the confusion of our own thinking that has no presence on the planet had we not thought it up in the first place.
Crazy how we can create that illusion in our own minds.
It's very, very powerful.
It happens more often than not, though.
It happens all the time. This gentleman, he's a local guy. I think he's in Wellesley. This guy's named Dr. John Rady, if anybody is listening. A great book called Spark. The Revolutionary New Science Connecting Exercise and the Brain. And Rady says that what we've learned about neuroscience, neurobiology, what we've learned about neurogenesis and neuroplasticity just in the last 10 years exceeds the entire discipline prior to that. So we know a lot more now about not only how we think, but the environment in, in which we think. People make choices. Everything about your life is a choice, whether you realize that or not. Everything about your life is a choice. And the interesting science of it is that a choice can only be made in the present moment. That's why I said, this is my life right here. Everything else is a distraction because it's either in the untouchable past or it's in the unpredictable future. This is where I am right now. This is where I can be effective and I can control what I'm doing and what I'm thinking. And this can be adopted, and if a person's inclined to do so, this can be a method of thought management and behavior management, what we in the Billy the Coach world, we call it behavioral conditioning, that can become your default state of mind, right? Think about this, Tyler, right? Imagine you're just driving your car, someone cuts you off, right? Someone cuts you off. I mean, think about it. This is happening probably dozens of times in the greater Boston area
Very
as we speak,
area, yes.
as we speak, right?
Yeah.
And so these people are going to be cognitively hijacked, behaviorally hijacked. They don't have to be. They just, as I said, they don't know what they don't know. We have this ability. It may seem, people might hear this and say, oh, well, I can never do that. Well, it just goes to prove my point. We are what we think. And if I think I can't control that, then that is the cognitive environment you're creating. And it's not true. It's not true. You can modify it and adapt it in a way that's very, very positive, and it affects everything in your life.
That's powerful. And I wish we had another half hour to continue to chat, Billy. But as our time wraps up, I know you were generous enough to offer most of your service, and your services are oriented towards executives. But coming on today, you did say if anyone thinks of something or has a thought-provoking moment they want to reach out, they could do so. Feel free to share your information, whatever closing comments you would like to leave us with.
I would be thrilled, Tyler, to tell you the truth. I would be absolutely thrilled if someone heard our conversation and was curious enough to begin the process. That would be a game changer in their life. You don't need to buy anything. You don't need to journey any further. Everything you need is in your head. If they're interested in that, they could reach me through email at BTC, Billy the Coach, btc@billythecoach.com, or feel free to call my office, and that number is 603-580-4708. I would be thrilled if someone connected with me as a result of this, and I could help them. I'll tell you what, I'll call you tomorrow and say, Tyler, somebody
I hope so. I hope so. Hopefully somebody out there gets something good from this and picks up the phone to call.
Yeah.
Anything you'd like to leave our viewers with, Billy?
Tyler, human beings are much, much more than what they think, than what we commonly perceive. We possess transformational forces that are ancient, powerful, but for the most part dormant. So I guess the greatest, last thing I would say, let me think, one more thing, a great book. I would suggest that your listeners pick up a book called The Big Leap.
The Big Leap.
By Gay Hendricks, one of my favorites. The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks.
Two good ones then. Spark. And The Big Leap.
The Big Leap.
My reading list continues to grow, Billy. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it
so much fun.
Thank you.
Until next time.
All right.
We'll keep an eye on that lifestyle 401k.
Cool.
I'm excited.
Thank you.
And to those of you watching today's show with Billy the Coach, remember, we all have one life to live. Let's all do our part. I'm your host, Tyler Gates. Join us again next time for another episode of the Woburn Spotlight.